Austin the Money here. I want to talk to you guys about the wheel strategy and how you can make it better and how you don't have to get caught bag holding. Okay, so let me run you guys down. So I bought Enphase first at $100 and like 57 cents, about 100 shares. So I did that so I could sell a covered call going into earnings. That was my thought process. I wasn't sure if Enphase was going to hit or miss on earnings, so I sold an in the money $95 covered call to hedge my portfolio. I sold that for $955, so I had access to that credit immediately. And the reason I bought Enphase instead of just starting out selling puts is Enphase had already dropped from around 130 straight down to 100. So we were already down, 25% or so. So I already thought it was pretty fairly priced. And then Enphase missed on earnings and they dropped immediately to 85. So I immediately started scooping up a few shares here and there. Anyways, it got my average cost down to $91 now. So I went from 100 down to 91. And that is huge because if I did not buy another 100 shares, to break even and just collect premium, I'd have to sell a $100 covered call, which would give me about $103. Now, that is about 1% in the next 3 weeks. My goal is roughly 2% a month, maybe 3%, but 2% is my minimum a month. This is 1% in 3 weeks. Not a big fan of that. So by averaging down, I was able to sell the 91 calls because that would make me break about even on my shares. I was able to sell these. Right now, these are at $277. I believe I sold them for $280, so right around the same price. I sold these, and that is that's almost a 4% return on my shares. I'm sorry, not on my shares, 4% return on my capital. So my shares would break even, and I would collect about 4% off of these two covered calls. Now, just in case Enphase did keep dipping, I don't want to be stuck at a 91 average cost. So I've sold 372 Enphase puts, all right? Got an average credit of $218. I'm already up $309, and there's still $345 to collect. So with these puts, I made about 3% in 3 weeks, or 1% a week, as you will. And if I get assigned on these, that me owning 300 more shares at $72 would bring my average cost to $79.74, which is huge. So if Enphase is at 72, I would be able to sell 79, well, probably 80, just to make a few dollars on the shares. So if Enphase was at 72, I'd be able to sell $80 covered calls, which would give me a lot more premium. You put that into perspective. If Enphase is at 72 and I'm selling 80, that's $8 out of the money. So we'll do correlation. $8 out of the money is equivalent to selling about $92 cover calls. You're looking at around $244 right now, which is great. That's, about 3.5%. No, I'm sorry. It's a little less than 3%, I believe. And if I did not do that, and my average cost was what? If Enphase was at 72 and mine's at 91, that's $19 out of the money. Let's go ahead and add $19 to 84 so we can see what those covered calls will look like. We're going to go to 103. I'm going to get $65. That's a little over 0.5% for 3 weeks out. 0.5% for 3 weeks, or I believe a little over 2.5% in 3 weeks. And I can get out from under these shares quicker because Enphase is going to have to reach 92 before it reaches 103. So that's why I average down. And also that's why I have these $72 puts. So I can even lower my average cost by a lot more if I needed to. And then it would bring my average cost to 79, like I said. And Enphase is going to have to reach 79 way before it reaches 100. So I can get out from under these shares while still making a lot of premium. I'm talking, 2.5%, 3% in 3 weeks, which is my goal in under 4 weeks, which is great. So that is how you cushion the blow. Obviously, you will need an account. Whatever stock you're wheeling, I would say if you could at least have enough capital to own 400 shares of that company, you could wheel that stock pretty safely. Because, think about it. If you had if this stock is what, 8,400 right now to own 100 shares, if you had an $8,500 account, you'd only be able to get 100 shares of this. So if Enphase tanks to 65, you're stuck holding the bag, $20 out the money. And there's not really much you can do about it. You can just keep selling covered calls. And if you sell, if Enphase is at 65 and you're selling $85 covered calls, you're not going to get much premium for that. And then if you sell covered calls like at 70 or 75 and Enphase absolutely rockets to the moon, now you have covered calls that would end up making you lose money because you played them a little more risky. And it's just not good, man. That'll put you in a bad situation. That's not a situation you really want to be in. So luckily for me, the fact that I'm able to own 500 shares of this company, and yes, that would put me in margin if I did take ownership of these 3 puts. If they got assigned, it would put me in margin. I'm completely okay with that. I understand the risk. But that's the reason I've done this, because if I still had it at $100, I would be down about 16% roughly right now, and I'm only down 7.8%. So, and I can get out from under this stock a lot quicker. So definitely, if you're willing, look to have a portfolio, 300 shares minimum. I would say definitely 3 times the cost of 100 shares if you want to be safe. 400, definitely a lot safer. And the more the merrier. If you have an account big enough for 1,000 shares, that's great. But it definitely helps you get out from underneath. And that's really what I wanted to talk about here today. Because I've been stuck holding Tesla. Probably, I think it was January maybe of this year, or maybe it was 2023. But Tesla absolutely tanked. I owned 100 shares at I don't know, man. It was around $250 or something a piece, and it tanked. And I was stuck holding the bag. I couldn't average down. I didn't have enough capital to average down. I was stuck selling cover calls way out of the money. And, Tesla went from 250 something to I think in the 100s again. And it was just terrible. I had a couple months, to where I couldn't even make 1% returns. It was just awful. So luckily with this, since I've done this strategy, I can continue to meet my goal. I can continue to bring in, I think this month I'm scheduled right now for 4.4%. I do also have a spreadsheet where I'm doing this. So for my November 15 cover calls and puts, my monthly profit was $1,214. You add these last 3 months I've been doing it, that's $43.86. And I'm making roughly 4.4% this month. October was 5.3 and September was 6.4. So I'm absolutely crushing my goals right now. Goal is 2%. My current unrealized is from the shares. But if my shares get called away at $91, I don't have to worry about that unrealized loss. So I'm currently crushing my goals. And I will tell you the averaging down helps a absolute ton. So just wanted to tell you guys that. I'm sure a lot of you guys maybe already know this, but if you don't, cool. I'm glad I could help you with something. That's the whole goal on this channel, is maybe teach, learn, and just follow hopefully my success. Last week we're up 1.76%. Let's go to the S&P 500 to compare. S&P 500 is down 0.5%. So beating it on the week. And let's look at the month. Month we're up 293. And S&P is up 192. So we're beating it by 1% on the month. That is awesome. So that is great. And tech is actually down today, which is surprising, because S&P is up higher than QQQ. So what's having a struggle? Oof. Taiwan Semiconductor struggling. Tesla is absolutely tanking. Nvidia's red. Microsoft red. Apple's green. This is earnings week, guys, so this is going to get real volatile. It's also, my contracts are going to get hit with the election and all these earnings. So I'm very curious as to where Enphase is going to be on November 15th. Are we going to be above 91? Are we going to be below 72? Or are we going to be right in the middle? And I can just keep all this premium for free and then absolutely do the exact same thing for December. So I'm very curious to see where we'll be. Like I said, my main goal And my thought process is for these shares to get called away at $91. So I break even on my shares and collect all of the premium for my put and my call. That is my goal. If it doesn't work out like that, I will adjust my plan to get what I am trying to get. So guys, that's the whole video. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We took a nasty dip on Enphase. Account was down almost $2,000, and we're back up 480 on the week. So, don't give up. If you have a strategy, stick to it. If you give up your strategy in the first month, you might have to take a loss. But if you're doing it for 12 months, you're going to see the strategy actually work and actually succeed in making money. All right, guys, that's everything. Peace out.